Close your eyes and imagine something. Are they closed yet? Okay. Imagine this. You are a sailor enlisted in the United States military, stationed on the USS Arizona, currently at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. The date is December 7th, 1941. As is a standard Sunday for you, you wake up at around 5 a.m. and have breakfast at 6:30. At around 8, you make your way to the dock, or the deck. You step out into the sunshine, only to hear the drone of an airplane overhead. And then, you hear the sound of a bomb exploding on nearby Ford Island. You rush to the brow to see hundreds of planes bursting into flames and the water tower toppling. You look upward and see hundreds of planes above with a symbol you recognize as the Japanese emblem, the rising sun disk. The deck explodes into chaos as you run to battle station, yelling, screaming, explosions, and that insistent drone of airplanes overhead. The acrid smell of gunpowder, the stench of burning fuel, dazzle of blacks and oranges and red all around. For the next few minutes, you man the anti-aircraft guns, but the enemy are always just out of reach. Blinded by smoke and flame, there's only one thing on your mind: escape. As you feel along the walls, you almost don't notice your hands and feet burning with great heat coming from the ship. You look down at yourself and you realize that the skin on your arms and legs is charred red and burned. Long pieces of skin are peeling off your arms, so you grab them and throw them down. Beneath, your arms are red and inflamed. You reach the edge of the doomed USS Arizona and stop to catch your breath. Looking out over the water, you spot a small boat amidst the smoke and flame. The boat has a man on it. You yell for his attention as loud as you can, and luckily he turns and sees you. He's holding a long rope, and he winds up and throws it in your direction. Twice, the rope falls short. On the third try, you reach out over the edge to grab it. It's a long way, a seemingly insurmountable stretch filled with fire, but it's the only way out. With renewed determination, you grab the rope only to gasp from excruciating pain. You look down and realize that all the skin has been burned off your hands, leaving them raw and painful. You have no choice. You must try to make it. You grit your teeth and grab the rope again. Pain is still so much, but this time you don't flinch away. You start climbing hand over hand across that rope. Safety. Looking down, the water of the bay is in flame, burning black with oil. Somehow you fight through, enough to climb all of the long way towards the small boat. You don't even feel your palms anymore. The adrenaline is too much. You reach the boat, and the man reaches out to you, grabs your arm, and pulls you aboard. He smiles and claps you on the back. You start falling from his friendly slap. The pressure too much. The world blurs around you, and everything goes black. When you come to, everything is fuzzy. Whatever is beneath you is soft and comforting. Faintly, hazily, as if from far away, you hear a voice. It sounds like the president? You can't quite make out what he is saying, and then a roar goes up and applause comes through. Lulled by the noise, you fall back asleep, but you have survived. You have survived the attack on Pearl Harbor. Wow, okay, that intro was long. Alright, you can open your eyes now. Let's get on to the actual video. This is the attack on Pearl Harbor in some number of minutes that I don't know yet because I haven't edited it yet. Alright. So, back in the 1930s, when Mustache Man was starting to make a fuss over in Europe, attacking other nations and whatnot, believe it or not, things were happening on the other side of the world as well. China was going through a civil war between the communists and the not communists, and Japan was like, what a great opportunity. So they invaded China in 1937. However, the United States didn't like this as they had been giving China money, well, more specifically, the not communists in China. And so Japanese-American relations worsened. Then in 1941, Japan allied themselves with the Mustache Man and his short sidekick and began looking into taking over all of Southeast Asia. Their time would come soon as the Mustache Man invaded Russia, now the Soviet Union, and so the other Mustache Man was distracted, giving Japan the opportunity to take over all of Asia. Except for one problem, the United States. Now, America had a nice base in Hawaii called Pearl Harbor that was really important to their operations in the Pacific. So the commander-in-chief of the Japanese Combined Fleet, a man named Yamamoto Isoroku, had an idea. Japan would suddenly and without warning attack the U.S. base at Pearl Harbor so they couldn't help in Southeast Asia, and then Japan would take over all of the area. Nothing could go wrong, right? The Japanese government okayed his plan, and so on December 7th, 1941, the Japanese fleet launched an air attack on the base at Pearl Harbor while simultaneously invading other places across Southeast Asia like the Philippines and Malaya. Here's a map where you can see all of the Japanese war objectives. When the Japanese planes arrived over Pearl Harbor at 7:55 in the morning, they found the Americans lollygagging around eating breakfast and doing their normal daily sailor routine. So the Japanese absolutely ruined their breakfast by killing them and destroying their ships and airplanes. What a nice Sunday. In total, the Japanese killed 2,335 men with 1,143 wounded, sunk 4 battleships, damaged 4 more battleships, sunk an ex-battleship, sunk a harbor tug, damaged 3 cruisers, damaged 3 destroyers, damaged 3 other ships, as well as 188 aircraft destroyed and 159 damaged. In return, the Japanese lost 5 midget submarines and 103 aircraft, as well as 64 men. Pretty successful raid, am I right? Well, maybe not. But before we get to that, I hear you saying, "But Brandon, why were the Americans so unprepared?" Well, you see, command of Pearl Harbor at that time was being shared between 2 guys named Husband E. Wait, his first name was actually Husband. Well, considering what happened, I guess you could say he didn't do a good job husbanding Pearl Harbor. Command of Pearl Harbor was being shared between 2 guys named Husband E. Kimmel and Walter C. Short. They were warned of the possibility of war, but neither of them, as well as their bosses in Washington, thought the Japanese would actually attack Pearl Harbor. That would be silly, right, guys? Thus, their defensive measures at the base were far from adequate. Then on December 7th, Japanese ambassadors to America asked for an interview with the Secretary of State, which somehow meant they were going to war. Come on, guys, what if they wanted to have tea with the Secretary of State or something? No? Alright then. Anyway, the warning had to go through either the Army Chief of Staff or the Chief of Naval Operations to get to Pearl Harbor, but the Chief of Staff was out lollygagging on his horse, and the Chief of Naval Operations didn't think it was a big deal, so the warning didn't get to Pearl Harbor until after the attack began. There were a few other things that could have alerted Pearl Harbor to the attack, like a large flight of planes on a radar screen. Well, look at that. But no, apparently this wasn't a big deal, as U.S. bombers were expected to come in to Pearl Harbor on that day. That's pretty ironic. Fast forward to after the attack on December 8th, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the one that did polio but became president anyways, gave a speech where he said, "This is a day that will live in infamy and it's time to go to war, guys." I might have paraphrased the second one. And so the U.S. entered World War II, beat the mustache man, and dropped a fat guy and a little boy on Japan in revenge, killing a couple 100,000 people. So, was Admiral Yamamoto's plan any good? So the Japanese have attacked Pearl Harbor? The answer is no. No, they shouldn't have. Someone definitely should have told the guy, "Ie, Bakagawa Maiha," because this attack may have single-handedly lost Japan and the mustache man over in Europe World War II. Okay, maybe that was an exaggeration, but the attack on Pearl Harbor drew the United States into the war, something that the Axis powers should have desperately been trying to avoid. Also, tactically, the Japanese missed oil supplies at Pearl Harbor and then destroy them. It would have grounded the base for much longer than what actually happened. And that was the attack on Pearl Harbor. Fast forward to after the attack on December 8th, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the one that had polio but became president anyways, gave a speech where he said, "This is a day that will live in infamy and it's time to go to war, guys." I might have paraphrased the second one. But fast forward to after the attack on December 8th, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the one that had polio but became president anyways because he's just a hero. In total, the Japanese killed 2,000. In total, the Japanese killed 2,335 men with 1,143 wounded, sunk 4 battleships, destroyed, damaged 3